Hello, everyone. My name is Michael, and I'm CEO at RigER. And today I will host the webinar number 33, and we'll talk about oilfield inventory management. As always, we encourage you to follow us to the different social media. We're very popular LinkedIn. Today's agenda, we will talk about the inventory and we will talk about all different kind of the usage, purchases, consumptions, movements of the inventory tracking is today's topic. And we have three presenters today, Gleb, Arsent, and Indra. And please welcome. And I will do a short intro about our company and what we do to whom who just the first time attending these webinars. So the BelcaSoft company was established in 2012, 7 years ago, with a very simple idea to democratize the digital oil field and brings the new highest and greatest in technologies to the small and mid-sized oil field service and rental companies. Our core focus is a paperless enterprise, customer solutions, custom solutions, and integrations. RigER is our flagship product, and right now we have a wide range of the different industry application within oil field, like a downhole tools, well management, waste management, flowback, telecom, rig movement, and we have 4 different applications for different functions of the oil field, mobile oil field. We'd like to thank all our clients with different big, well-known name and the small guys, and list of the equipment which we manage in RigER is growing every day. And thank you again to use our product. So I'd like to introduce Gleb, and he will talk about the inventory and how we structurize the inventory in RigER.
Thank you very much, Michael. Hello, everyone. My name is Gleb Kobets. I'm VP of Operations in RigER. And during this short introduction, I'm going to show you how inventory are organized in RigER and how we can track it and how it generally looks in the system, so you have better understanding what we'll be talking about today. So basically, what types of inventory can we have in the system, and what usually our clients and different companies track in RigER. Under the inventory, we mean everything that is not the rental unit, obviously, and we differentiate it with the different types. But basically, the inventory is the goods or finished goods means or products. It can be also materials that you will be able to combine into goods. And we will show it a little bit later how to do that in RigER, so you have this opportunity. And also, you can track your consumables or supplies, just smaller parts that you use in your jobs or you supply to your customers within the rental equipment or throughout the provision of the services. And also, it can be parts. So parts is the most, I think, usable thing type in RigER. So most companies operate a large amount of different parts that are used in the operations. So, but all of these types of smaller pieces of the equipment are organized under the inventory in RigER. Here on this screen, you can see the inventory card in RigER. So before you start consuming the inventory in the system, you have to set it up and just to enter it as a record. And you have an option to specify the model of the particular good or part. You can also set the comment or attach a photo of this part so to better and easily navigate the list of the parts. And definitely you can mention and you can set the name or description of the part, again, to easily select it in your documents. Under the type drop-down menu, you will be selecting the type of the inventory. As I already said, we have 2 types currently. It is goods and materials. But under those 2 types, we accommodate all these various types of the equipment that we were talking just before. So the model of the part can be also attached to the name of the part. So again, if you need, you can show it to your customer on the print forms of the documents, or you can just use it for your internal purposes when you select this part in the documents. And definitely we can set different unit of measure for the parts or materials. If you use bulk materials, you can set something like gallons or pounds or something like that, or just a fits, and measure your materials or consumables or something else in different unit of measures. Here on that slide, you see that we can add supplier info details about a particular part, what it is. So we can specify the default supplier of this part or consumable by selecting it from the drop-down list of the vendors. We also can specify the supplier's part number. So that's the original OEM part number. Again, if you need to track this information, you are allowed to do that in RigER. And supplier's description, how you order this part from the vendor. So that field will tell you what to put in your purchase order. And definitely a supplier's unit of measure, which can be the same as RigER unit of measure, or it can be different. Now let's go to the inventory dashboard. And on that dashboard, you may see that we specify the parts and consumables and supplies that are entered in the system, and we track them by quantities. So by purchasing these parts in the system, you bring it to the stocks, to the inventory, and it's reflected on the dashboard. It's a dynamic list, so once you consume it or you purchase this, the quantity are changed automatically. And also you can see how many of particular parts you have on hand, or you've just ordered, but it's not been delivered yet. And on the right-hand side in the bottom screen, bottom box, you see that you can even see how many of a particular parts have been ordered from different vendors. And you can see how many of those parts are stored at your different locations if you have different yards, warehouses, etc. And you can also see this information as of a particular date and even time of the day, as you also do this with the rental units. Now let's move on and let's talk a little bit about the inventory purchases. So I pass the mic to Arsen, who is our software consultant, and he will tell you a little bit about this in a sec.
Thank you, Gleb. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, let's talk about inventory purchases. Well, first of all, we have already stated several times in our previous webinars and learning lessons that you need to virtually purchase every single piece of inventory to be able to utilize it in RigER. So the purchase process in RigER can be described as a usual one, and we also have a special purchasing process, which we will talk about a little bit later. The usual purchasing process involves the purchase order, purchase invoice, and bill of lading documents creation. First of all, you would have the purchase order, then you would get the purchase invoice from your vendor, and you would have the bill of lading to bring your equipment or your inventory to the stocks, so to be able to dispatch. Now, the second way of the dispatch is the fast purchase, and I've prepared a small demo video for you. So, okay, let's see what fast purchase is and how to actually create one. Let's click on the purchases and select the fast purchase section. Now this will open a list of all the fast purchase documents that we already have in RigER, and will also allow us to create a new one by just clicking on the create button at the top left corner. Now one thing to note is that fast purchase is not only a document, it's also a shortcut in RigER that will allow us to create all the necessary documents for our purchase purposes in RigER platform. So let's start. Let's set the date of the document itself. for example, 1st of August. We can also set the time if we need to. Then we'll need to set the purchase invoice number. It's just a reference point for us for the future. So let's just do IPI 01. And we will need to select the vendor. Now, in my case, I'm using a dummy vendor, assuming that I do not know the actual name of the vendor. So we will also need to select, might need to select the tax scheme. It's not mandatory. We'll set the shop or the yard that we need our equipment delivered to. Let's do the main shop and set the delivery date of the equipment that we are purchasing. So 1st of August, it's already preset for us. So let's go ahead and add some items to our list. We will select, for example, the light tower. Let's make 2 of them. And you can see that the price is already preset for us, so we don't have to input anything. And add another unit, for instance, the trash trailer, and let's make 3 of them. Now, right now, I just need to select the exact unit numbers that I am purchasing. So I just need to click on this QTY0 link, and let's select our unit numbers. Let's do light towers, 2 of them, and select our 3 trash trailers. Okay, now at this point, I have input all the necessary information, so I can just go ahead and click on Post, which will activate all the changes of my fast purchase document in the system. And the only thing left to do is just to generate the necessary documents for purchases. So I just go ahead and click on the Generate button at the bottom left corner. And this action generates the purchase order, the purchase invoice, and a bill of lading documents in the system for me. So I just can go ahead and click on any one of this, which will open the actual document for me to review, or I can just save, post, or post and close my fast purchase document. This is everything there is to know about creating fast purchase document in RigER. Now in this video, actually, we saw the fast purchase done for the rental units with utilizing with the unit numbers. The purchase process for the consumables and parts and goods is absolutely the same, except that we do not need to select any kind of unit numbers, obviously. So we just set the quantity and move on. And now let's talk about reordering and minimal quantities. Now, every now and then, the purchase manager might need information how many of which consumable item he has in stock left to be able to know whether he needs to purchase, because the purchase process might take, the delivery process might take 2 or 3 weeks for the inventory to reach to him. So in RigER, we do have this capability, and the basic scheme that it has done, we just set the safety stock amount in every single item card. For instance, in this brush item card, you can see in the red rectangle, we have a safety stock. We can set that number to be notified whenever we reach that number, and it becomes to reorder action. And we also have a report that we run, and that report shows us every single item that needs to be reordered, and we can filter the report by the action that we need to see, which are reorder and pending. We can filter also down to the department to see of what unit, of which unit we have in every single department, and we can narrow it down to the every single date that we need to see. So I believe this is it, and on this note, let me pass the mic to Michael, and he will talk about bill of materials.
Yes, actually the bill of materials is one new feature we just recently added to RigER. This feature was requested by one of our clients. They build the like modification. They did a modification of the one of the items, but it's a like a normal situation when you have like internal intercompany, like in the company, the shop, which where you build some items, and So actually, the manufacturing process, you have several parts, combine them together and build the product. In some cases, you can add an extra services. So in RigER, we connected the product as an item type goods, sellable product, and parts as a item type material. So you can combine several materials together and build a product which will be a good type item in RigER. Goods type item in RigER. So the bill of materials looks like that, and you can build, and it's very important, not the quantity equal once, but quantity equal whatever quantity you need. So you can build whatever product together and both several items together and just to build a smaller production or manufacturing shop. So a good question about the product value. The product value will equal the sum of cost of parts. Let's consider this because this is a very common question asking how we define the average cost, the cost of goods sold for the parts, for the consumables, let's consider this example. Say day one, we purchased 10 items. The price was $25 and value $250, and we consume one of it, and the average cost is one. For the one it will be $25, so the cost of goods sold will be $25. Which is good, which is normal and totally understandable. However, when we have a more complex situation, when we purchase another quantity with another price, so the mixed value or the average cost will change. So right now we have 69 at the end of the day. And say, for example, for the bill of material, we use 2. So the average price and average cost for each unit will be 23, 26. So this is how the total cost defining, and when we extrapolate this example, the average cost can change, and every single transaction can change the average cost. So be very careful when you select the method of how you track the cost of the spare parts, because every single purchase will change the value. Moreover, if you posting the past document, say for example this one, your average cost could be different from this. So it's very important when you post a document and what date was for the particular consumption of the inventory. So let's talk about the inventory consumption more precisely, and what kind of documents can be used for that. Gleb?
Thank you very much, Michael. So yeah, actually, there are several documents in RigER where we can add parts to, and in this way we consume these parts. So under the consumption, we mean that we write off the quantity of the parts used from the general overall stocks in the system. So first, those attendees and those participants of this webinar who use RigER every day know that we start every single job in RigER with the rental service agreement, which is the master document of the job, and which specifies the prices and quantities and types of services and parts for the job. So in this rental service agreement, we add parts or consumables to the service and parts section, and we just show for which price we provide this to the client. So that's the source for the pricing for the job. Now we go to the next stage, and when we generate the rental ticket, it can be both delivery or return ticket. We consume parts through this document. So once we've added the parts to the rental ticket and we post this document, the appropriate amount and quantity of these parts are written off from the stocks. And obviously it will be included in the rental invoice for the customer. The other document that we can add parts to is the field ticket. So remember that the field ticket is the document that is mostly designed for the services, to provide the services. And as you may see in the tabs, we don't have a rental units. So we have a service and we have a materials tab, which allows us to add materials again here, or parts or consumables, whatever we name it. And there will be again added to the job. And also, we can build a repair list in the item cart. So on that specific case, you see that the rental unit is the air compressor. And if we know that this compressor is required some repair, and there is a set of particular parts that will be included in this repair process, so we just build a template for the repair list, and when we do the repair cart and this unit will be involved in the repair, the list of parts will be added automatically. So you don't have to add these parts every time manually. You just build a template and you use this template in the repair cart. And again, these parts are consumed from the general stocks. Now we've come to the point where we can ask your questions, and actually you can ask us questions and we can answer that. So please feel free to use the chat function of the Zoom webinar, or you can submit your questions through the Q&A section of this feature of this program. So please submit your questions. We'll be happy to answer them. Okay, I've got one question and let me address that. So is there a way or possibility to use the serial numbers for parts?
It's a good one. When we have a serial numbers for the parts, it could be like my understanding should be like two things. One will be a part number. You can definitely use the part number, and the part number become the name of the part, or it could be a separate field as a model of the item. But if we talk about, in some cases, we have serialized part numbers for the warranty perspective, for all kind of different things. So in this case, we will recommend use them as a rental units, and use them as a serialized numbers rental units. So both ways works depending on what kind of situation you have, and you can use both ways.
Okay, thank you. We've got another question from Brian, and he asks, do you require a newer client in order to use the consumables function? I couldn't find it. So I think that, Brian, you're talking about the newer client, the thin client of the RigER application. And my answer will be actually no. The parts function, consumables functions, is available in all the versions that we have released before, and in the newer one as well. So if you cannot find this function, please just submit your request to our support desk, and we'll be able to help you with this out, because it's a standard function of the program, and probably there are just some visibility settings.
Yes, and the parts or materials or consumables available in the mobile app as well. So it's not a problem. So even if we talk about the mobile application. We have another question from John. And John asking about can we track inventory by trucks and beings? And let me take that. So it's a very popular one, and yes, you can. When you add an extra layer of the departments and have like dedicated storage place for a particular part in your shop or in your yard, it's possible. However, we need to apply all the changes with the practicality standpoint, because every single movement in the system required an extra entering point. So if you would like to use the inventory by truck, the inventory by beings, you need to enter every time. So say, for example, when you do the delivery ticket, should be the intercompany transfer to truck, and after that, it will be a delivery ticket from truck to the field. So it's totally up to you. Really, that kind of approach required a big organization from the field personnel. So yeah, it's possible. However, it's not easy.
Okay, now let's take a look at the inventory movements. So how we can move inventory between our different shops or warehouses. And I would ask Indra to cover this topic. So Indra is our support technician lead. So Indra, welcome.
Hello, Gleb. Thank you. Hello, everybody. My name is Indra, and as Gleb mentioned already, I'm responsible of user support in RigER. And today I will show you how to proceed intercompany transfers of goods, parts, or other consumables in RigER. So intercompany transfer allows you to move your goods, materials, parts, and other consumables between different shops, yards, and warehouses. You can find intercompany transfer in RigER Oilfield Rentals menu under Rental Units section. And when you click here, you go straight to intercompany transfer document list, and you can generate a new document. When you're generating a new document, you must make sure that you are selecting a correct date, because by this date, it depends on what date the goods, materials, or parts will be transferred from one shop, yard, or warehouse to another one, to another location. Also, you have to select the location from where you are transferring to a location to. And you can add all the parts, goods, and materials what you would like to transfer, and click post and close the document. This will activate this document and the materials will be transferred. And all the movements you can find and track and see in inventory turnover report. As you can see in this report, the first line of the report is showing the received of quantity of 10 of the materials of goods like light tower service kits, and the second line is showing the expense, so it's removed from main shop location and transferred to East Coast shop. So this is the way how you can move your consumables in RigER system. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Indra. And let's move on to the next topic, which is the inventory sales and price setup. As long as you can use consumables and in RigER and add them to the documents, to the rental tickets, you also may sell the inventory out of RigER and from your stocks. And one of the documents that allows you to do that is the sales order under the sales module of RigER system. So in the sales order, you just start putting the different parts that you're going to sell to the customer, and you specify the quantity and the price. So the price can vary from customer to customer, and you're welcome to set this every new sales order manually. Also, you specify definitely the client, billing, shipping address, and all other information that you need to have on the print form of your sales documents. Now, how we can set the prices for the parts and consumables, and we use the standard price list as we do the same for rental units. So you can create a separate price list for the parts and consumables, and on the right hand side you see the item type in this document, and you just specify that this price list is for goods. What you can add goods one by one by clicking add button, or you can fill out the list by groups of items. For example, if you have parts for a specific type of equipment and you allocate it into the group of these items, you just select the group and it will be populated automatically in the price list. So you set the price, sales price for the part, and also you can set the date from which this price list will be active in the system. And if you have changed the prices, you don't have necessarily to delete this price list or change the existing price list, because you can just copy that, the existing one, and change the date from which new prices will be active in the system. So that's very easy and quick, and don't require a lot of time. Okay, now we've come to the interesting point where we can accommodate all the data that we have in RigER, and we show it in the inventory reports. So Arsen, please describe that.
Yeah, sure. Let's take a look at some of the reports for the inventory that we have in our system. Now, when you open the reports list, we do have a separate section for inventory, and you can see it on your screen in a red rectangle. So let's move on and talk about each and every single report that is in that section. First of all, let's discuss the weekly equipment report. This report on a weekly basis will show you the information you need about your inventory, and there are several sections to this report, like the grouping by the equipment, grouping by the division, breakdown. We also have fire-ups, shutdowns, grouping, and etc. So different kind of information represented in this report, and you can see how much of what are in rent, are racked, are available, are in repairs, are booked, etc. So pretty much a lot of information to digest. The next inventory grossing profit margin report is a report that will show you the actual margin that you get from the profit margin that you get from your inventory, and it has a grouping by the item, and it has information about the sales quantity, the average price, the cost of goods sold, etc. And you get the profit margin at the end in a percentage. The inventory on hand report, which is exactly what it sounds like, it will show you the inventory, the count of the inventory that you have on hand, broken down by the actual pieces of inventory and the location. So you will be able to see in which pieces of inventory you have in each of your yards or your warehouses. And this report, and on the top you can see that can be grouped to be showing either by location versus item breakdown, or vice versa. You can break it down by item and see every single item in every location you have. Let's move on to the next one and discuss inventory purchases. The inventory purchases will provide you with all the information that we have concerning the purchases of every single piece of inventory we do accommodate in RigER system. So you will be able to see the breakdown by vendor, then by item. You will see every single purchase order document in your system that was used to purchase that item. You will also see the purchase invoice, the bill of lading, and the quantities and the amounts of each and every single unit that you have purchased. On the other hand, the inventory sales report will show you the sold pieces of inventory that we have in system. So it is again grouped by client item, and you can see at the top of the screen that we also can group it by item then client. It will show the information about every single item that we have sold to every single client. And lastly, the inventory turnover report. as Indra has already spoken about it. This report will show you the opening closing balances of every single piece of inventory, every single piece of inventory that we have in system, broken down by the date, the document type that was used for this purpose, and the location, the actual location that belongs to us, meaning the shop, the yard, the warehouse, etc. Okay.
Thank you very much, Arsen. And now we come to the next interesting topic, which is the best practices. And Michael will share our experience, how we usually recommend use parts in the system, and what are the recommendations on that side.
So the parts very, very big for some companies, and some companies not use parts at all. But there are some of the rules which we apply when we talk about parts. So definitely we can have parts as materials and goods, and the difference is how they participate in BOM. So materials will be components, the goods will be a result of the manufacturing. But when we talk about like oil field tickets, there is no difference between materials and goods. You can use both of them. However, in some cases we see the situation then clients do not want to track the purchases of the some of the consumables. Say, for example, the diesel. So they do not want to track diesel all the time, but they'd like to charge per number of gallons or liters used for a particular job. So in this particular case, we recommend to use parts as a service. So you enter the service called diesel and units of measure gallons, and we get you just put the number of gallons you used and charge the client to. And at the end of the day, when you run the service report, you will see the total quantity used per month, and you can compare with your purchases. In some clients, it works better instead of track all the purchases of the diesel, which can happen like 20 ton per day, and it's not really practical. So that was one of the example how we can use parts or consumable charges in the invoices. Another thing, the reorder and the minimal stock, when you can have some like the different parts could use in a different way, and you need to understand that it could be some challenges when you purchase some of the very, very rare parts. So it could be a reorder time, a delivery time, or average consumption. So based on that, you can set up the minimum stock or a red flag stock, which will show you, okay, this is a minimum quantity at this particular location, and you need to reorder. And after that, you set up the regular email reporting. Say every week, every month, whatever period works for you. And in this case, the purchase manager will receive that report and understand what needs to be reordered. In this particular case, the minimum quantity is 0, but you can set up the a particular quantity for a particular type of parts and do the reorders. So yeah, as you see, different clients use different methods, and RigER is a very flexible product which gives you ability to track parts in different ways, and again, it really depends on the purpose and how you'd like to do that. So that's probably everything for today. And we have a very good timing, so we come to the second Q&A session. So please start asking the questions. I will check if we have anything right now. Gleb, do you have anything at your side?
Yeah, Michael, while you're checking this, I have one question. Is there a way how we can dispose parts if we need to be disposing that? because sometimes companies do the inventory counting and they found that some parts may be broken or damaged, so they need just to dispose it. Is there a way or a document in RigER that allow to do that?
It's a good question. Thank you. So yes, and there is the situation like that happening not like every day, and right now we have no document which we have in RigER, which we have like disposal rental units. But it's not include parts so far. Maybe in the future, if those questions will happen like regularly, we will add this feature to RigER. However, how you can do it right now, you can sell it. You can sell it with zero price, like to do the like artificial internal sales in RigER. So yeah, this is how you can do that.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, let me address another question that I've just received. So Peter is asking, can we change prices for parts on a repair card, or we should do this on rental service agreement? So where it's better to change prices for parts if there is a special conditions for the client?
Yeah, it's a good point. Thank you. So definitely the rental service agreement design and as a sales document, and usually the salesperson has no idea about what kind of parts they will require for the repairs. Moreover, like the price range for a particular part. So usually, most of our clients they do the repair service as a separate charge, and the parts price set up in the repair card. So we not use rental service agreement as a repair price source. And in this case, the price from the repair card will goes to the final invoice. So that's a difference. If you know what kind of part you will use in our, so usually you can include this to the repair template, which will be a repair list for the particular part. But again, the price level change every like parts price change frequently. So in this case, I would recommend to use the repair card as a primary source of it.
Okay, I think that's clear for Peter, and thank you. I don't have any other questions on my list.
Good. So yeah, it was our topic today. Was really interesting, and parts in some businesses are very important, and especially the repairs. So we wish you a great trucking experience with RigER through your parts, and we'd like to invite you to the next week to the next webinar. Which will be focused on the equipment utilization. Same time next week, rental equipment utilization. And a good news that we will have an online RigER user conference 2 weeks from now, August 22nd, and we will talk about RigER community, user experience, support, and product development. Where we're going, we will talk about a new version of RigER, ask your opinion about what we need to add and how we can improve your user experience. So we really ask you to join us for the RigER conference and participate in this big event for us. So thank you so much. It was a great webinar today. Thank you for participating, and join us next week for the oilfield rental equipment utilization.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thanks.
Bye.